So hi everyone, my name is Nikhil. I'm a second year food technology student at University Institute of Chemical Technology, and in this video I'll be talking about the antimicrobial resistance and food poisoning. So let's get started. So what is meant by antimicrobial resistance? The antimicrobial resistance happens when the germs like bacteria and fungi develops the ability to defeat the drugs designed to kill them. Okay, so this means that the germs are not killed and they continue to grow in our body. And some food poisoning is caused by antimicrobial resistant bacteria. So we're going to understand in the context of food poisoning about the antimicrobial bacteria. But before going to uh, dive deep into antimicrobial resistance, we'll firstly understand what is meant by antimicrobial. What is the term? What we call antimicrobial? Antimicrobials includes antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, and antiparasitics. And these are the medicines that we use to treat the infection in humans, in animals, and in case of the plants. So this is about the antimicrobials. But what is the resistance? Antimicrobial resistance. So you might have the now you might have the idea. You can think that the antimicrobial means the antiparasitics, antibiotics, and resistance. So resistance to antibiotics called as antimicrobial resistance, or we can say that antimicrobial resistance, that is AMR, occurs when bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites change over the time and no longer respond to medicines, making infections harder to treat and increasing the risk of spreading of the disease, severe illness, as well as the many health complications. So what happens in the antimicrobial resistance? For example, there is a bacteria and we have created or we have invented the A bacteria is there and we have invented X antibiotic which can kill the bacteria A. Okay, so what happened? We all know that the evolution is going from very long time. Okay, and the microbes, we also as humans are evolving over the time. We also have evolved from apes to the humans. Okay, so the bacteria are also evolving. They are adapting to the conditions, like when we introduce antibiotic or any kind of antiviral, antifungal in our body. So what those chemicals do in our body, they make the environment harder to live or to live that organism. So what happens over the course of period of time, the organisms can bear or can sense, or they can uh, develop the ability to grow in that condition. So what they the efficiency of that antibiotic or antimicrobial decreases. So in that case, we cannot treat that disease by simple use of antibiotics that we were using from uh, that we were using in the past. Okay, so the disease spread increases, as well as it can if there is mild symptoms, then it can convert into severe illness if we didn't take action properly, and can deteriorate our health very badly. As a drug resistant, the antibiotics and antimicrobial activity medicines becomes ineffective and infections became increasingly difficult or impossible to treat. So many major health complications we can see in case of these conditions. So what about the food poisoning? Like everyone in the food industry is ensuring that the food supply to be safe. Okay, but people can still can get food poisoning by eating contaminated foods. Okay, some of the bacteria that can cause the food poisoning are antimicrobial resistance, that they cannot be treated by any kind of medicine, any kind of antibiotic. So meaning that certain medicines do not work against the bacteria. An antibiotic and antifungal drugs saves the lives, as we know, but their use can contribute to the development of resistant germs. Excess use of the antibiotics, antimicrobials can increase the resistance occurred by the germs. Okay, because if we are using the antibiotics in excess amount in case of any mild symptoms or any in case of common cold, so what happens? It suppresses the immune system of our body and it act as a or it act against the bacteria. So for that minimum period of time, the efficiency of our immune system suppresses and the antibiotics work in that case. Okay, so antimicrobial resistance spreads between the people, animals, and the environment. For example, water and also in the soil. How? Because when you stop the development and the spread of antimicrobial resistance, so stopping development and spread of antimicrobial resistance is the key acting to protect people. So if we have to protect the people from antimicrobial resistant bacteria, we have to stop the development and the spread of antimicrobial resistance. along with preventing infection and improving antibiotic and antifungal use. We have to use all the medicines wisely. What are the food poisoning symptoms? If we cause the food poisoning by the bacteria, so what are the symptoms of food poisoning? Like the person with foodborne infection caused by antimicrobial resistant bacteria, which cannot be isolated by any kind of antibiotic, will have similar symptoms to the infection caused by bacteria that can be killed by antibiotic. Okay, so let's see a case here. Like we are having a bacteria, as we have discussed earlier, we are having a bacteria and it is showing us the three symptoms like nausea, vomiting and headache. These three symptoms they are showing us. Okay, a bacteria, and we are using X antibiotic to kill that a bacteria. Okay, then the symptoms will disappear. But in the second person, that same a bacteria has evolved to counter that X antibiotic. So that bacteria will also show the same symptoms in the first person as it show in the first person. So then again, any physician or any doctor can prescribe you with the same antibiotic, with the same that he will prescribe you with the same antibiotic, but those antibiotic will of no use there, because that microbe is antimicrobial. It cannot killed by that antibiotic. So what happened? The symptoms are the same. So if we not diagnose it at early stage, then the symptoms can be lead to mild to the life threatening. The people with mild symptoms of food poisoning usually do not need antibiotics to get better. Our immune system can do all that stuff. Okay, mild symptoms include nausea, diarrhea and vomiting of food poisoning. And the people with the severe infection may need to see a doctor and to be prescribed with antibiotics and may have to be hospitalized. Resistant infections can be difficult and sometimes impossible to treat. Okay, resistant because there is no use of antibiotics or any antifungal, so we have to go beyond that limits. Okay, so this can lead to more costly treatments. We have to opt for more costly treatments. Okay, much higher technology. Okay, and can increase the higher risk of side effects of those treatments to our body. The severe symptoms include, if we did not diagnose it at early stage, it can include bloody diarrhea, high fever, temperature more than 102 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, frequent vomiting, which prevents the liquid skipping down. Okay, then the signs of dehydration, including little or no urination, very dry mouth, as well as feeling dizzy when you are standing up, and as well as diarrhea last more than 3 days. So these are some severe symptoms you can see in case of the foodborne infection or food poisoning. The people, there are a certain group of the people who are at high risk of food poisoning, such as the people aged 65 and older, as well as the children younger than the 5 years. Okay, as well as the people who are having health problems or who take the medicine that lowers the body's ability to fight the germs and sickness. And the women who are pregnant are more at a high risk of food poisoning by antimicrobial resistant bacteria. So what happens if you are having any kind of disease and you are taking any medications? So what those medications do? They suppresses the immune system. They kill that kind of bacteria. So what happened in this case? Your immune system is temporarily rested, so it loses its ability to cope up with these conditions, to cope up with this bacteria. So it can reduces our immune system in the long term. And these groups, that is the people who are aged 65 or the older, or the people who are having any kind of diseases, the children below the age 5 and the pregnant women, all of these people are at a high risk of severe symptoms or complications from food poisoning, including infection caused by antimicrobial resistant bacteria. When we think about the food poisoning with antimicrobial bacteria, so it is a very complex web. Like everything is connected. Like food, farms, and animals are connected to each other. Animals, like people, us, we carry the germs in our gut. Okay, including antibiotic resistant germs. Even in the industry, is ensuring that we have to maintain the food supply safest in the world. Okay, but these germs can get into the food supply and people can get sick because of these germs. Okay, when animals are slaughtered or they are processed for food, the germs in the animal gut, including resistant germs, can contaminate the food or can from the contact with the animals or other surrounding, people can get in contact with those germs. Okay, and antibiotics saves lives. And however, anytime antibiotics are used, the drugs can contribute to the development of antibiotic resistance, as we discussed earlier, as well as the animal poops, as well as the animal waste, that is the poop, can carry the traces of previously consumed antibiotic resistant germs. Okay, and sometimes the animal waste is used as fertilizer in the farms. So because of the fertilizer, it get into the contacted with the food, such as fruits and vegetables, which can become contaminated through the contact with soil or water, entering waste from animals. Antibiotic and antifungals are sometimes applied as pesticide to manage the crop diseases. In case of plants, we also use antibiotics, antiparasitics in case of the plants. Okay, so this may lead up the development of and the spread of the resistant germs by contaminating the surrounding soil and water. The storm water and the irrigation water from the farmland can contaminate nearby lakes as well as rivers. So it is a very major problem. So we have to counter that problem. And if we have to protect ourselves from all these things, then we have to take some steps, like how we can stop the spread of antimicrobial resistant bacteria to the food or the animal contact. As we state, like the animals animals carry the bacteria in their guts. Okay, this includes antimicrobial resistant germs which can get into the food in several ways. So if anyone is a non-vegetarian, okay, who loves to eat the meat, so they are also at high risk if they are purchasing any kind of meat from unhygienic stores, unhygienic outlets. So it can lead to these conditions. When animals are slaughtered and processed for the food, the antimicrobial resistant bacteria can contaminate the meat and other animals' products. Okay, so for example, by spreading from contaminated processing equipment or the storage bins, like when we use the equipments for processing the meat, so those equipments can contaminate the food. Okay, if you use those equipments for another different kinds of foods in the same plant, the animal feces can contain the resistant bacteria and get into the surrounding environment, into the soil, and use that soil as a compost, as a fertilizer, and it again get contacted with fruits and vegetables. People can get intestinal infections, including antimicrobial resistant infections, by handling or eating contaminated food. Okay, or by coming in contact with untreated or uncomposted animal poop. In recent years, many investigators has investigated many multi-state outbreaks caused by antimicrobial resistant bacteria. So these outbreaks have been linked to contaminated food and contact with farm animal, pets, and pet food. If we have to protect ourselves or family, then what we can do while to ensure the food safety of our food when we are preparing the food? First, cleanliness. We have to wash our hands before and after touching the raw meat, chicken, and other poultry, okay, seafood as well as eggs. So we always have to wash our countertops, cutting boards, and utensils after preparing each food item. The second is separation. We have to separate different food. Like when we are preparing any kind of food, the germs from the raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs can be spread to the fruits, vegetables, and other ready to eat foods unless we keep them separate. So we have to separate them. We also have to use only one cutting board as well as plates for the raw meat and another for the different food that cannot be cooked before it's eaten. We don't have to put the cooked meat on a plate that had the raw meat on it. Okay. The third is the cooking instruction, like cooking heat, how much heat to be applied or to given to that food, at how much temperature we have to boil it, cook it. You can use a food thermometer to make sure that the food is cooked at a safe temperature. The fourth is chilling. We have to maintain the temperature of the refrigerator at 40 degree Fahrenheit or below that. We have to refrigerate the food within the 2 hours of cooking. We have to refrigerate within 1 hour if the food is exposed to the temperature above 90 degree Fahrenheit, under the sun, or in the hot car. And when there are pets or animals around, we have to wash our hands after touching them, their food, their water, their poop, belongings such as toys, bowels, their habitat such as beds, cages. So you have to take care of all these things. Like you have to maintain the cleanliness, you have to separate, you have to maintain the temperature, chilling processes. So then you have to maintain the self hygiene. Just maintain the hygiene, just maintain the cleanliness. So you will be getting rid of all these different kind of antimicrobial food poisoning. So that's it for today, guys. If you like this video, then please consider to subscribe the channel. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. See you soon in the next one. Bye bye.